We are back. What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Off the Ball Network. OG3, as always, it's Chris LeBron on here. We got my guy Jeff. We got Mo in the building. What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man. Taking out March Madness. I mean, it's a Sunday. No kids. I'm feeling great.
Irrationally mad. I'm irrationally mad for no reason. But this has been a fun tournament to watch so far. Like a lot of stuff going on. NBA's heating up. I love March Madness. Pushing into the stretch run of the NBA. It's one of my favorite times of year because everybody starts getting hyped, watching a bunch of basketball. This is the time of year. This is what I love about this time of year. Especially like if you live Chris, you live in the same type of time zone. The spring's coming, the sun's out a little bit longer, starting to warm up, and then the basketball starts, jumping off. So it's just like basketball's constantly on, but you can actually go outside. You might shoot some hoops, like you start getting, and then a good tournament pushes right into the NBA stretch run and into the playoffs. And it's just like it's the weirdest thing because basketball starts in the fall, but this is my time of year where I get really, really hyped about the basketball season. I'm enjoying it. A lot of good players out there I've met watching the tournament. It's crazy.
Yeah, we've had some upsets and all that. And my Final Four is still intact. What about you guys? How's your Final Four looking? Oh, I mean, we know Mo bought into the SEC tournament. And
Me
he's like,
too.
Oh, Auburn.
I had Auburn win it. I ain't a lot of
and
no
then
one.
Auburn got dumped in the first
Bro,
round.
the first game, bro. Like, here's my thing. I was so confident. Like, and I wasn't confident that, like, Auburn's the best team in the country or nothing. That's not where I was coming from. I hadn't watched, like, college basketball, like, die hard all year. Like, I ain't watch it. I ain't cover it like Chris. So I always pay attention. But no matter what, I'm going to watch the conference tournaments and the NCAA tournament. So for a week long, the sport of college basketball got my personal focus. I watched Kentucky. I watched Auburn. I watched Purdue. I mean, I watched all them conference tournaments. I watched some of the Oaklands win their conference. And I'm like, man, Auburn looked the most impressive. Like, they looked ready. And then they went on a run. They won the SEC. We've seen this before. Teams go on runs in the conference tournament. They remain hot. I'm not mad at Auburn losing, like, and not making it to the national championship or not making it to the Final Four. I thought with me taking Auburn, I'm gambling on them beating UConn. I'm like, they'll make it to the UConn matchup, and I'm going to take Auburn because almost everybody else is going to take UConn. And if I'm trying to win the bracket, there's got to be a difference. And here go Auburn losing the first first night. Like, your first game, you're done.
Everything Mo just said, I had him going to the championship game. I had him winning for all the same reasons.
Wait, you picked Auburn. Oh, you did.
I did in my bracket. So I have a really good bracket. Like, I'm in the top like 80%, but it don't matter because Auburn's done. I know. I don't watch college basketball.
Different too. Like, it was like I knew everybody was gonna pick UConn. I knew everybody was gonna pick Houston to play it safe. Then everybody was gonna find that either North Carolina or they was gonna find that 2 seed they fall in love with, Marquette or Tennessee. Everybody wasn't gonna go past like the 3 seed picking their national champ. If I pick who I really think is going to win every year, my bracket be busted anyway. So why not try something different and just go to unconventional route?
You went different, and guess what happened? Well, you got dumped in the first round, so you had no chance to win in your bracket because in Auburn the first day.
My bracket is bust, and I get to just watch the college tournament for what it is now. I don't care no more.
So I do more betting on the games than I do the bracket anymore. Like, I do a bracket, but I don't watch it. I watch my bets, which it's not healthy, but it is what we're going to touch on that later with some Otani thoughts that I got. But real quick, before we move off Auburn, I got to counteract what our brothers at Off the Ball Network did yesterday. Ken and Walker did a show, and they touched on Auburn losing to Yale and how, like, the tournament's more even now. There's not really, things aren't as upset as they are because a lot of teams know how to play basketball. I got to push back a little bit. I don't care. This will never change. I don't care how good they are. I don't care what these teams do. You can't lose to Ivy League teams. I don't care how good an Ivy League team is. You can't be Auburn and lose to an Ivy League team. It's against the rules. It'll never change. Like, as long as time goes on. So, like, I don't care what Princeton, Harvard, Yale, Cornell, any of these teams. When Ohio State played Cornell the other day, I was like, you can't lose to Cornell. You can lose to anybody. You can lose to VCU. You can lose to
Marshall. You can't
anybody.
lose to Cornell.
You can't lose. If you lose
an Ivy League team,
You just like it never goes away.
Why do we see upsets like that in college basketball where we'll see let's throw in like we see Purdue lose to Fairleigh Dickinson, but in college
Yeah.
football, you'll never see Georgia lose to Toledo or not even Toledo, to UConn in football. Like we won't see a low-level Division I team ever upset a Georgia.
You know why?
Why do you think that is?
Basketball is a one-man sport. One man can win you a game. One man can win you multiple games. One man can win you a championship in basketball. Now, I'm not saying every time somebody wins a championship, a man carries you, but there's a difference. In football, there's way too many factors. And let's be honest, there's more good basketball players in the world than there are good football players. You know why? Because basketball is a sport. Once you graduate high school, whether you continue on and play at the college level or not, basketball is a game you stay around and play if you like basketball. You go play pickup. Basketball is always a more interesting sport as far as keeping around it. You got 40 and up leagues and stuff like that. People are done in football by the time they're 25.
Everyone, every age plays basketball.
Yeah,
exactly. As long as they humanly can.
Exactly. There's a bigger pool of players. There's less contact, so physicality is not a big deal. Because, like, if Auburn and Yale play football, we know what that like. They're calling an ambulance. Like, it's. But that's what makes basketball interesting.
Can make the biggest difference in basketball. Like, you just have the one guy who hits 10 threes and gets hot, and it gets uncontrollable, and you end up losing. Where football, like, I mean, a receiver could go for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and his team still could lose by 40.
Yeah.
Like, he could be the best player on the field, and his team could still lose by 40 because he's the one guy that could probably play for an Ohio State or in Alabama or whatever, got lost in the sauce or whatever. But then everybody else, they're with most of those teams on the lower levels, they are where they're supposed to be. Even look at the transfer portal. Ohio State and Alabama's and all that, the top schools, they don't go get nobody from UConn or nothing. They're getting something from other Power 5 schools.
Exactly. Like in college basketball, you see that. You'll see somebody like Division II and all that. And it'll go
from Oakland to Kentucky, like type. Like you see, like
that doesn't happen.
Harley Dixon, and he's playing for Purdue. That doesn't happen. There's not really any low level guys like that you're finding, and you're like, that can make the difference at an Ohio State. And if there is one guy on those rosters, he got lost in the sauce and it was by accident. But Alabama and Ohio State ain't doubling back to go get him. They're not looking to poach players off of the UConn football roster.
And with the bigger tournament field, which I do predict that the depth of talent is going to spread out now that college football has expanded. We're going to see in a few years to where the talent level is going to start being dispersed down amongst teams because you got a shot now. You don't have to be a top 4 team or a top 2 team anymore. In college basketball, like, you can take a chance and be like, you know what? I just want to get some run. I'm going to go to, FAU and just get me in the tournament and I got a shot, as opposed to college football. It's like, if I don't go to not only just the top teams in the country, if I don't just even go to the top teams in a conference, I got no shot, let alone across the country. So like talent will risk sitting on the bench to have a shot at a championship rather than go to a smaller school.
And you could go to a smaller school. The likelihood of you going to a smaller school and going pro in basketball is a lot higher than going to a smaller school and going pro in football.
Because people can see your talent, as opposed to football. You need so much. If you got a bad quarterback, I don't care how good you are at receiver, like, nobody's gonna know. Like, because you're not getting the ball.
You can get lost in the shuffle and all that.
Unless you show up at the but then another thing too is let's not overlook, like, I know we're like 40 years into this experiment now, but the 3-point line. Like, Oakland can't win without the 3-point line the other night.
Exactly. But there's no version of that in college football like that.
There's no 10-point line. Like, if you get 30-yard touchdowns, 10 points, like, to equal things out, like, there is no equalizer. And I'm not against that. I'm just saying that's a real thing. Like, if we were still playing without the 3-point line in a paint, then your size, your talent. But then what happens then is like, well, then everybody's like, well, I'm just going to go to North Carolina and win a championship. So that would immediately get all the talent back into all the guards in the world. Don't help you without a 3-point line. That's true.
Jeff, you mentioned the 3-point line. It's crazy how much the 3-point line gives teams like Oakland a chance, because if they get hot, and I said this, if for teams like Oakland to win, they got to hit the threes and they got to hit them early to force whoever they're playing to be like, now we got to force some shots. And that's when young teams, get a little sloppy because they're forcing it, and now that's where you see a lot of upsets and all that. So that's why. And the coach was like, "Hey, we need more. We need this dude to hit more threes because we got to apply pressure because the only way for us to win." And that's why I like coaches like that because they understand. They're like, "Hey, the only way we have a chance to win if homie hits 25, if he shoots 25 threes and he hits 11 of them, that's the only shot we got to win." And that's what happened. You apply pressure and all that. And now these younger teams that get bounced early, like the Kentuckys and who we're going to talk about soon, that's what happens. And that's why they get bounced early.
You saw the counteraction. Once old McLemore from Oakland, got cold against North Carolina State, it was a wrap.
It was a wrap.
Yeah, once they started bouncing out, the game was over. Like if those fall, they win. Like it's not a secret. And there's nothing wrong with playing that way.
Another thing people don't factor or think about or care about, I'll say they probably don't care about, is when you walk into the tournament, there's way more pressure wearing Kentucky across your chest than there is wearing Oakland.
Oh boy,
Kentucky has the most pressure out of any college basketball team.
Oakland could have lost that game by 50. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Auburn could have won by 60 and nobody cares. But because there's more pressure. Now we're talking about, now there's a world where, is Bruce Pearl the guy? Is Coach their job's getting questioned. Oakland won one game, goes and lose to NC State because they're not hot anymore. And the coach is, a folktale hero now. So another thing is what comes with pressure, and these players and these coaches feel it. There's different with expectations.
You saw when we get into Coach Cal, we saw it on his face what you're talking about, Mo. That and the players, the whole.
But before we go to Coach Cal, we're on the tournament, so I'm gonna just talk about what irks me.
Say it with your chest.
I need certain people to go into hiding, and this is what I need. I need the guys that only care about the NBA and don't really care about college basketball. I need you to go into hiding for the next 2 weeks. And the reason I say that is because, and this happens every year, Chris, it irks me. It's mainly the NBA draft guys, and I love y'all content, and I love the fact that y'all can tell me, but just enjoy college basketball for what it is right now in the tournament. I don't care what the next guy going to go do in the NBA. I don't care if we're watching a guy score 20 and 10, but he's not even on your big board to be drafted. I don't care if you think very less of the guy at NC State that he can't make it at the next level. I hate this around the time of bowl season for football, and bowl season doesn't matter as much, but when the draft guys come and kind of ruin what this is supposed to be, who cares? Some of these guys may never play this sport again, and they're having the time of their life in the tournament. And we all know the tournament is probably the most exciting postseason thing, in sports, is the NCAA tournament. That's where you get the most clarity.
I haven't watched a lot of NBA, to be honest. I've been all in on
because it doesn't right now. The NBA,
even with the Knicks played yesterday afternoon. I watched a couple minutes, but I was all in on basketball.
I want to expound on Mo's conversation because I totally agree with him. Just me, I've always said this. Just watch a game for a game. It don't matter. I don't care. For instance, local team here in my county is playing for the state championship in Ohio this afternoon. Everybody's excited. It's great. None of them kids going to the NBA. That's fine. You know what I mean? But they might win a state championship. And it's awesome. Everybody's excited about it, but we don't have to be but they can't go to North Carolina. It don't matter. And I want to expound on what Mo says. We talk about the NBA college, it also doesn't matter. But then I also realize if you watch one to the other, it's crazy, to recognize what it does take to get to the NBA. I see these guys in the NBA and I'm it's such a rare talent, jump. So there's no reason to worry about a guy's draft future, especially with Kentucky and stuff. And these freshmen, we don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And the Kentucky guys, a lot of these guys might be 10-year pros, all-stars and all that. And the kids from Yale may not ever play another level of basketball. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Enjoy it. Bet on it if you choose or not, whatever.
Oh, my bet. It's awful.
And you got Otani to back you. Maybe
Jeff, we're going to get into Otani. We're going to talk baseball. We don't talk a lot of baseball on the network, but we're going to talk baseball.
I mean, since you kind of said since we're talking about it, we might as well get into Coach Cal, right?
Yes.
So the thing with Coach Cal, I want people to understand this. For me, I get how come it's not okay that Coach Cal just takes pride in the fact, you know what? I'm not winning national championships. You're right. But because he says it, And how come it's not okay that he's okay with it? I'm not winning national championships, but you know what I'm doing? And he goes down the list of names of guys that are on their second max contract or getting a max contract.
I think he does that. I think he does that.
He does. And but what I'm saying is people kind of kill him for thinking that way because I get Kentucky fans don't care that Devin Booker is a max player in Phoenix.
They don't care. No.
They don't care. They care what you do for Kentucky.
I did not know Devin Booker went to Kentucky till 2 seconds ago.
He was like a six-man kind of. He was on that team that went to the that was undefeated and they lost to Wisconsin.
Yeah, like Devin Booker was at Kentucky. Like Tyler Hero was on a max contract. Like these guys that you get at Kentucky are on max contract. If I'm not mistaken, Bam went to Kentucky. Bam went to Kentucky. Bam out of bio. Like Shea Gilgeous
SGA.
You know what I'm saying?
Karl Anthony Towns.
Malik Monk is still in the league, bouncing around. He's a 6th man of the year type guy. So like maybe Coach Cal just puts a lot. Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins. Like let's just go down a lot. He takes pride in that. You know why he takes pride in that? Because he talks about it all the time. You guys want to talk NIL. You guys want to talk all this stuff. He's like, when you come here, look at it's you're going to the next level and you're going to get paid a lot of money and you're going to have a long career. And maybe that's all he cares about. And people want him to care about winning. Maybe he just
wait a minute. I'm like Chris, help me out here. Before the show, did our man not say he was ready to fire Ryan Day before spring ball? And Ryan Day does the same thing as Coach Cal. Like if Ryan Day came out here and told Mo Murphy, yeah, but look at all these receivers in the NFL.
You want to be like that, Mo. I don't know if you would like that.
I have personal interest. I just because after all I said all that,
That's who I feel for. Is
Kentucky fans don't care about everything that I just said that I see with Coach.
They don't care.
Fans don't care about that.
No, they don't.
I'm just saying maybe that's how Coach Kyle approaches it. Kentucky fans could care less. They don't care that Devin Booker got all those guys got paid. They'd be like, what did you win for me? But I'm saying Coach Kyle, that's what it seems like he takes pride in, especially now. He's kind of done because the head coach. Why not just I'm getting all this talent. I got all the talent in the world. I make a lot of money. Like maybe this is his way of my satisfaction before I retire is getting guys paid.
You know what, guys? I know people are harping on Cal and they want him fired. They want Kentucky to pay this crazy $30 million buyout. But also let's remember, right? The COVID year and all that extra year is done. This is the last year of that. Me and Kev have talked about this on the Get a Bucket podcast, which you can find on the Off the Ball Network.
There's one more year for COVID.
No, this is it.
Nope.
This is it. No, I thought this was it.
Next year.
Anybody who came in 2020.
That's what I'm saying. It's one more year.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's what I worded it wrong.
Yeah,
this is
Paige Beckler's coming back from UConn.
Yeah, I meant this year though. Okay. So I think it'll get back to the freshman kind of go because now we're gonna get remember the G League Ignite also is done now, so that's one less avenue for guys to go make money somewhere else.
How many guys?
I think the freshmen
off the Kentucky roster.
I think the freshman thing, the last few years it hasn't worked. I think it's going to come back.
But Coach Cal wasn't winning before COVID. Like he wasn't winning with the rules. Like he hasn't had a good team in
how many national championships
years?
But the issue has been since 2020, essentially since COVID started. That's been his issue. I think he's going to
hold on here. Let's roll it back.
And I know he hasn't won.
There's one thing.
It's been a little bit. 2012 was the last time he won.
If he was losing in the Sweet 16 every year, maybe the Final 8 and being like he's got 2 tournament wins in 7 years at Kentucky.
Yeah, in 7 years. That's
North Carolina State has 2 this year.
But he's not going to change his philosophy. He's not going to change. It's also his problem is that he essentially just grabs up a whole bunch of guards and just says go, and he doesn't know how to fit.
Where's his coaching staff?
Future max players. He grabs a whole bunch of future max players, put them on a roster. It gets everybody hyped. Everybody watches.
But he used to find the perfect match. He used to find the guys who match each other perfect. Lately, he's been missing on those. There's still going to be max guys in the future. Dillingham's going to be Wagner's still going to be an NBA player, but those Reed Shepard's going to be an NBA player. But they didn't mix. That's just been his problem the last handful of 5+ years is that he hasn't found the right match of those guards.
But you can't get him ready. You can't get him ready to play a first round game. first round game.
First round, Chris.
We ain't talking about the Final Four. We're talking about
okay. I understand that. I completely
first
understand
round
it.
game.
But Reed Shepard goes 1 of 5. DJ Wagner goes 0 of 4. Dillingham 4 of 15. There comes a point where it's like, hey man, you guys got to make shots too.
If you're
like you guys got to hit shots too. I understand.
But
it's gonna fall on Cal. But hey man, you guys
it's his fault.
Combined 6 of 25.
You got to regroup.
Chris, if you're not hitting shots, right? Then what does a coach emphasize? If it's not our night offensively, then we make sure it's not their night also defensively. And you let a few car salesmen come and smack 10 threes on you.
They've been
and plays for Oakland.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I get that. Because defensively, but that's been an issue all year, though.
If they were an 8th seed and lost like an 8 and 9, okay, and you lose in the first round, that's fine. But you're a 3 seed with expectations, and Kentucky comes with expectations just off the simple fact of the talent that you put out on the floor. We know these dudes are good. We're not questioning Coach Cal because he doesn't have a talented roster. If he didn't, we'd be like, man, he's got to recruit some more talent, but it's Coach Cal. That could be easily fixable. Look at his track record. It's not because of the talent. Now, are you matching the right talent? Sure.
Yeah, he's not matching the talent.
But it's still like when you
hear
that coach, when you hear Kentucky got 3 of the top 5 players in the country coming in, it's just like with Coach K with Duke when he got some of the top guys coming in. Like it comes with expectations.
But Mo, you know that, but like the star. I hate the star rating. I hate the star rating. But the
first
star
round,
rating, I know, Mo, but we get so infatuated with star ratings and all that. But star ratings, they lie. Sometimes
that's why you need a coach,
Chris.
Yeah, but here's the.
I'm not trying to make it. It sounds like I'm trying to make an excuse for Coach Cal.
Star ratings,
5 guys. Like you,
we're talking about losing to Oakland. If we were sitting there talking about how did Kentucky, how did Kentucky lose to Gonzaga, we can have a conversation.
I understand. I truly understand.
Chris, Oakland.
I know. But Oakland's a bunch of 24, 25-year-olds too.
And that makes it
that does matter a little bit.
That makes
no matter if they're pros or not, you're still anything in life. If you're 25, you're going to have an advantage over a 19-year-old no matter where their future is. They might be 10-time league. So that is an advantage. And so you have 19-year-olds trying to figure it out. And that's where Cal has to kind of figure change that.
But just bring in one of these bring in a dude, just a dude.
But he has
right now.
He has him. He has brought in a couple of transfers and all that.
But here's my thing, Chris. I agree with everything you just said. It's different being 19 playing against a 25-year-old. I don't care. You are 100% correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I only push back on them being 19 and not being ready is the tournament is played at the end of the season, not the beginning. I can see if you're not winning the Maui Invitational because you're playing against, you lose to Oakland in the Maui Invitational at the beginning of the season because I just put on some 18, 19-year-old guys on the court that just got on campus 2 months ago. Yeah. I get that. But you had a whole season. And like you said, Chris, they had the same problems this all year. And it just showed to the whole world because the whole world wasn't paying attention until the tournament. But a guy like you who's watched Kentucky all year, you should be more upset than us because you're sitting here and be like, how in the hell have I watched y'all for 30-something games all year and y'all walk in and you have the same problems against freaking Oakland? Like you watched all year and the whole world sees Kentucky.
So Chris, like Mo said, you watch so much of these teams and I don't watch very little college basketball throughout the year. That's not a slight on it. Just don't have time. I ain't gonna lie to nobody. But how when the game started, as someone that knows the game, were you like Kentucky better watch out for this? Were you less surprised than like me and Mo? Like, did you see this possibly coming?
I saw it coming. Yeah. Me and Kev talked about it. Like they could,
I did.
They could get bounced and they listen, we get infatuated with the talent and we see the talent, we see the star ratings and all that, but they're young. They only have, I think, 3 sophomores and maybe like one upperclassman. So this is like
freshmen.
They have like 7 freshmen they're playing.
4 of the 5 starters are freshmen.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, with the guards were the one position where I was like, because they got DJ Reed, Dillingham, Antonio Reeves was the upperclassman and all that. If they don't get it together, they might have a chance to lose, and that's exactly what happened. The moment got too big. That's what I mean, Captain. We're like the moment could get too big. And all that, and if Yale starts hitting shots early, that's when you're young and all that, and you're not ready. That's when the moment gets too big and all
But
that.
Chris,
And
if
that's exactly what happened, because we saw from Kentucky all year.
I'm gonna say this, and here's why I say this. I used to have a coach that would tell us, "You think you gonna win just because you got Clearwater across your chest." He would say, and he would reiterate that my junior year, because my first 2 years we had never lost a game. So he would always, and then the thing is, when we lost the game, he'd be okay with losing to a team that like is almost as good as that could beat us on any given night. But when you walk in, I don't even think people were infatuated with the talent. It's the fact that we walked in, you turn on the TV, and you see two things across people's chests. You see Oakland on one side, you see Kentucky on the other. Regardless of what flaws we thought Kentucky had, the casual fan for the country is not expecting the flaws to show against Oakland. Like, so everything you say, I agree with. My only thing, but it's Oakland. Like, and then
I understand that aspect. I understand.
Ken said it on his show before the tournament started. So, like, the fact that our college basketball guys pointed this out before the show to me validates a Jeff or a me who thinks maybe just Coach Cal ain't the greatest coach, because there's no way our college basketball guys, Chris and Kev and Ken, should be able to come on the show, on their shows before the tournament, and confidently break down why y'all think Kentucky could be the team in trouble. 10 years ago, people would have called all of y'all idiots, right? Now, you guys are 100% correct, and y'all predicted it before it happened. So to question Coach Cal, because the casual fan is going to automatically always think Kentucky can't lose to Oakland.
But they should. That's the brand. Like,
can't lose to Oakland.
Yeah, they should. And I give full credit to, like, and again, the parallel between Kentucky and my beloved Ohio State football is the exact same. Like, I watch them meticulously throughout the year. I see the flaws. People think I'm crazy. I guarantee a Kentucky fan, was it Thursday night, Friday night, whichever it was, Thursday, was like, I knew it. I guarantee a bunch of Kentucky fans were like, I knew this was coming all year. He's doing it again. I'm sick of these freshmen. I don't care about the NBA. Like, that's what a Kentucky fan will say. Believe me, I know some real Kentucky fans, and that's what, like, they don't like that don't help them. The NBA talent doesn't help. And here's another down. And I know the one and done is a whole different conversation. It's been going on. It ain't gonna change. Like, it is what it is. It's fine. I'm not even against one and done. Actually, I don't think you should have to be one and done. I've always been like, if you want to go. Like, I think that actually. What I don't like, that you can't grow to these players. Like, right now, Kentucky fans aren't like, hey, next year, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so's back. We're going to build it. In 2 years from now, we're going to have the best. Nope. Next
Kentucky's literally sitting here talking about as fans, they're like, we're in the same problem. We're in the same predicament next year. Now they're looking at the recruiting class funny because they're like, as great as these players they say they are, it's still, we had this last year and lost we're losing in the first round. He got 2 wins. 2.
I will say this. Their recruiting class coming in this year has a little bit more attitude. They have a little bit more attitude. The guys that are coming in, they got one kid from the Bronx, that's coming in, Boogie Flan. He got a little bit of spunk to him that they haven't had.
And his Cal makes him soft.
What if Cal?
And that's what I'm saying. When they get to the tournament, and that's what I'm saying, he's got to. That's why he had success with John Wall and all these guards that the SG. That they got far with those guys because they had a little attitude. He needs to get those guards a little bit more attitude and all that.
Listen, man. Another, as a parallel to Ohio State, you know what Ryan Day did? This dude went and got a top 20 head coach to be offensive coordinator. Why don't Coach Cal just go get a young guy to coach the team? There's no shame in that.
I think college basketball is different in that.
Coach K always had a good assistant coach, right?
His assistants
always had a dude.
We're always like either. And those are his players. They're always his players and all. And he had them. He had them ready to go.
Get Boogie on that sideline.
A little bit more attitude. A little bit more attitude he needs with these guys.
The difference with Coach K though, and think about like, okay, he always had him a strong assistant. They were always a former player. Guess what the difference is? Guess why DeMarcus exactly. DeMarcus Cousins, guess why he can't succeed Cal, and Cal don't fully have. Now, I know he keeps up with his players, but guess why he don't have that strong bond and can groom them into, maybe you won't be an NBA player, but I see your mind and you're a coach. You're only here for a year.
Not even a year. They're there for 3 months.
Future, yeah, you're only realistically.
Months,
I only have to care about.
They're gone now. Like they're literally off campus now.
They're all, anybody going to the NBA is pretty much gone. They have their exit meeting and then they're gone, and it's just a couple phone calls every now and then with Coach Cal. Coach K, the guys that he did, those guys were there for 3, 4, even possibly 50-year seniors. Like Coach K keeps those guys around that weren't NBA talents, but were very talented minds and could play. Like he had a couple guys like Shire played in the NBA for a little minute. Like he wasn't no good player or none, but he made it to the league and played a couple years.
Shire was overseas and all that.
But he played in the NBA for like a year, didn't he? No, but even like you can't.
Yeah, Nolan Smith played in the league for a little bit for like a cup of coffee and all that.
He said, guys, like you're not strong.
Jefferson.
Like everybody's not JJ Redick or but at the same time, like who's going to have a strong NBA career? But he keeps those guys around. They develop over 5 years. When you keep a guy next to you as a player and then you bring him on as an assistant coach and raise him as a coach too. You keep that guy in your pocket.
But also
years and now ready month.
Let's remember something here, though. This is my whole point about Coach Cal. If you sit there beside him for 10 years, you ain't gonna know how to coach. Like you need to go get one of Coach K's assistants to be your assistant because Coach Cal don't coach basketball. Like he's not that good a basketball coach. I don't want to hear about Massachusetts in the 90s. Great job.
I mean, he did
great job.
But nobody's saying Coach Cal never could coach. We're just saying maybe I am coach now. I don't want to say never.
No, he was a fine coach, but how often have you watched a game and you thought, if this is even, Cal's got the advantage? Very, 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 very seldom, if talent's even, does you ever think Coach Cal had the advantage coaching.
Yeah,
but Coach K, 99% of the time, 100 almost.
Coach K was always usually the best coach on the court for the most part.
John Thompson, like the guys that can coach.
Tom Izzo or somebody on. It was a Tom Izzo. It was a Roy Williams on the other side, not a freaking Oakland coach.
You brought up Izzo. Me and Kev are gonna have this conversation when we pod this week.
It's been 23 years.
He's
We're
never
gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. He's 0-6.
Yeah, he's like, he's 0-7 now. He was 0-6 going into the game. Yeah,
me and Kev are gonna talk about it. Izzo, we're gonna talk about it. Because me and Kev talked about it earlier in the season. Because you assume that Michigan State was gonna figure it out, but they didn't figure it out. And I told Kev, I was like, Kev, do we have this conversation? Because it's been a minute since y'all won a national championship. It's since 2000.
But it's
2000 when they won.
One of the weirdest games ever. Y'all don't remember that game?
I don't think it's Florida, right?
It was Florida. Just go back and watch it sometime. Like the score was real low, so it looks funny. Most dominant game I ever seen a team win was Michigan State that night. I've never seen a team up and down both sides of the court play as good as Mateen Cleaves and that Michigan State did that night against Florida. An absolute drowning, like it just smothered them with their own blanket. It's one of the craziest games ever that doesn't really get remembered because like it didn't spark. But if you watch the game as a basketball fan, you're like, my God, this is as good as a team can play against somebody. Florida never, ever for 1 second had a shot in that game. Great national championship game. But if you'd asked me then, I'd been like, man, Michigan State's going to be good for like really, really, really good. To not have another one in 20 some years, I can't. They're the last Big Ten champion, aren't they?
To win the national championship?
Yeah. They're the last Big Ten team to win a national championship.
Because who's won one?
Them.
Ohio State went.
Michigan ain't won since
Michigan lost in the final. Ohio State lost in the final.
Wisconsin lost in the Final Four.
Wisconsin lost in the finals.
They lost in the final.
Dude, they lost to us.
Final Four. They lost to the Final Four. That 1 year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. Michigan State's the last one.
Michigan.
Illinois hasn't won one.
Purdue hasn't won one.
Illinois
lost the national championship to North Carolina.
Lost to Darren Williams them that year, right?
Yeah, McCants and May and all them guys.
Yeah, and that was like Darren Williams, D Brown. Luther Head.
Yeah.
No, it's been that long.
Wow. So yeah, are they? It can't.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It can't.
They're the last ones. Trust me.
It's been that long.
That sounds right, though. Like when you think about it, who has won one? That sounds right.
Minnesota, no. I'm trying to think of like Penn State.
Iowa hasn't.
Ain't no Northwestern, no Iowa, no Nebraska. Like, keep it going.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, right. Wow. So
It's
that's
hard
the
to
last.
do. But
And
like
they've been good. The Big
UConn's
Ten's
got
been
2,
really good.
Villanova's got 2 in that time. UConn's got 2. Like it's hard to do,
Duke
man.
has
It's hard to
2.
win a tournament.
Carolina has 2. Yeah, it's and that's another thing too. It's hard to win, man. You got to be perfect. You got to be perfect for 6 games and all. And sometimes when you're relying kids to be perfect for 6 games to win, it's tough and all that.
Yeah.
But Cal, this buyout is huge. It's a big buyout. It's like
Oh
30
no, I'm
million.
not buying him out. No, not this year.
Do you give him one more? Do you give one more?
Well, here's the thing.
2.
It's lifetime. It doesn't matter when you fire him. It's $33 million now or 20 years from now. It's $33 million.
Oh yeah, because he got that lifetime
You
contract.
got that lifetime.
Maryland was in the ACC when they won that national championship.
Yes.
Okay.
They sure were.
Yeah, Maryland wasn't in the Big Ten at the time.
Because I hated because the Maryland won the year after Duke won the national championship.
Yeah,
because Juan Dixon and Steve Blake and Chris Wilcox
and going to the Big Ten
squad.
Ruined Maryland. Maryland has not been the same program since they went to the Big Ten.
I hate it because I hated Maryland growing up. Hated Maryland, and when they went to Big, I'm like, that sucks. That's a rivalry, and obviously that's a bigger picture. We could talk about that another day. But like now that we're gonna get all these different conferences, and we might miss out on certain rivalries, that some of that will suck and all that. I mean, we'll get used to it and all that.
Yeah, because Florida State and Clemson,
Florida State and Miami,
ACC.
that might not be a thing soon. That might not be a thing. So you lose some rivalries. But that's for another show and all that. But Coach Cal, do you give him another shot? Do you give him? Hey man, we got one more.
Oh, he got 2. He got 2 before you really start talking about firing him. At the end of the day,
is it one and done again? There's one and done. He goes one and done again.
Then he goes one and done. Then he's like, hey, if it's not sweet, now you set real standards. Like Elite 8 or your job's gone. Like because next year, Elite 8 or Final 4,
they're gonna have somebody that they want.
Yeah, but Chris, think about it. At the end of the day, I've had to remove myself from the whole. Who are you going to replace them with? You know why? Because you don't know. You don't know who's going to be available next year. And you can't necessarily think about that when you have a guy that when you have a top tier coach, you have higher expectations. And so when they're not meeting expectations and you got to move on, maybe it is a rough for a year or two, but like it gets stale. Like losing in the first round is Kentucky. It's stale. We got all this talent. Our program is now stale. We are at a standstill for talent. So even if we move on and we got to thug it for 2 to 3 years to get back to the top, it's stale right now. So what's the difference?
And you can
Here's the
get
thing about Kentucky.
Too. Like
if you're a freshman at Kentucky right now, I mean, just going to school there, you probably don't remember the last national championship at Kentucky. Like that's a problem.
Anthony Davis was a freshman.
But real quick, do you guys Chris? You got any thoughts on the?
They were 9. They were 9. No, those 8, 9.
You got any thoughts on Michigan picking up the FAU coach already?
Dusty, you know what it is? You know what his thinking was? And this is what, and I believe this to be true, because everything was pointed to Louisville and all that. Because Louisville to me is still a top 10 job. It's a job it is a really good job. It just needs the right guy. Because once you get the right guy, you can go moving. I think he thought there's too much pressure if I go to Louisville right now. Because it's the main focus. The football team's good, but no, it's a basketball school, right?
Oh, yeah, and he's a hot name.
And you go to Michigan, it's still football. All they care about is football, really. So you could you're allowed to build. Yeah. You can build. Kenny Payne had no chance because the focus was on Louisville and Kentucky's doing their thing. And so like there was so much pressure on Kenny Payne. He wasn't allowed to build and he was gone. He was gone after the first game, guys. That's the crazy part about Louisville. They want him gone after like the first few games. Where Dusty Make can go to Michigan, he's allowed to build his way and all that. He feels more Midwestern, laid back, and he's because of Louisville, there's to me too much. He's not really good with dealing with the cameras and all that. He can focus on building while the whole focus is on the football team and how they're going to revamp and all that with Harbaugh gone and all that and just winning a national championship. So the focus is going to be on the football team while the basketball team.
It's a good paying job to go under the radar. I got you.
And you go under the radar. You're allowed to build and all that, and you can do your thing and all that. Whereas Louisville, everything's it's going to be on you. Nobody going to cares about the football team. They care about Louisville basketball. How do we get Louisville basketball back to being a top 10 program? And I think that's why he skipped and why guys are skipping that job right now, because I thought they would have Dusty May at least. I think he thought it would be the guy, but Now
So
Louisville's in a tough position where they might not get any guys they want.
So I'm always curious to see these coaches, obviously for like the mid majors and stuff, they have a good run and they get picked off. Like that's how it's always been in college basketball. That's what I thought a month ago Ohio State was going to do. I was like, we're going to get whatever coach, like FAU, whoever, like somebody gonna make it to Sweet 16. As soon as they lose, we're gonna hire them. So if they hire,
they were gonna go that way too. Ohio
they
State.
hired Diebler.
I told Mo,
Diebler instead.
It's a hotbed. That's another top 15 job. Like that could be. You guys could be a 25-win team with the right coach.
So should they have waited, or do you like what Diebler's done? I mean, he's put it on the court. Like he showed you what he can do on the court. Like they've won 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 12. Like
Mo,
I'm
just
asking
this before. The assistant, the guy who takes over for the head coach that gets fired, it's always the flavor, right? They win a few games and all that. Everybody likes that until it's the first full season. It's like, oh.
Because that's how. But here's what I'll say about Ohio State right now.
You should have waited and just let. But
here's what I can tell you: someone that lives here, we actually don't care. We just got it. We needed a change. If this don't work, we're like at least Holtman's gone. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where we're at in Ohio State. I promise that like if it goes bad, we're gonna be like, is worth a shot. I promise that like that's where we're at.
You guys are such a
it's ridiculous, but that's where we're at.
Ohio State really like, and that's why I tell people like, I love Ohio State basketball. I love basketball. But if you just talk about if you talk to a diehard Ohio State fan, they will tell you, I could care less if you told me Ohio State basketball is going to go 0-32 for the next 10 years, but in that same span, our football team will win one national championship.
We sign up.
They're signing up for the football team, and they won't care.
But I don't know if the athletic director is going to like that because that just makes
I tell you like that. The athletic director.
We don't want your basketball team going
athletic.
But I will say this:
director at Ohio State don't lose his job if the basketball team is going.
I understand that. They don't care. You don't want that on your.
No, you don't want it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, our football team's good, but like our basketball team's in the worst program in the Big Ten.
Speaking of which, Ohio State women up 30-17 on Duke right now. Let's go, ladies. Let's go.
You don't want the women's team being and whatever. You want at the like.
No. Here's the thing. Well, Mo's right about the difference between. He's right about both things. But when Ohio State basketball is good, we love it.
Yeah,
but it's also like the thing about Ohio State fans, and I know we take all the shit for it. It's all over. Like, I'm not going to apologize for it. When the team's average, that's when we don't care. If they're good, we're all on board because even with basketball, we're like Final Four bust. Like, if you're just a good team, we're like, all right, talk to me. Like, our expectations are through the moon. We had a national championship wrestler last night too. Shout out to him. It won their national championship for Ohio State individual. But when the basketball team's average, that's when we tune out. Like we don't. Here's the difference in Ohio State basketball. We love them
because you had an average head coach too. You guys should.
But if they're
average,
here's the thing: if they're average or bad, we also don't care if they're bad. It's the weirdest thing. Like we don't get mad. We just want to change it. Like we want to be good, but we don't get mad like Kentucky fans or someone like that. But if they're good, we're all on board.
Kentucky is you guys in football.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's weird though.
It all depends on the.
We love them if they're good. But we don't care if they're bad. It's weird.
It's Final Four. No, Ian, this is probably the worst team we've had, but it's still like, you guys better. Like we're talking about people are talking about Shire. Like, hey man, is this the guy? Like he's year 2 after replacing Coach K. People are already talking about Shire. Like there's certain jobs where it's like, North Carolina, Duke,
real quick.
Replacing legendary head coaches. Like
who is, when you think about it right now, who's the best coach in the country as far as like their youth? And like their ability to coach, like Chris, who stands out to where you're like that guy could coach any team in the country to a national title? Because I don't know.
Is there one?
Sampson? I like Kelvin Sampson. Now his teams are more older and all that, but I just think he's a hell.
But he's older too, though. Like you can't pick Sampson.
Yeah, he's also at Houston.
Like a young coach.
Like who's coaching Dayton? Who's coaching Dayton? Because them dudes had some bite to them. Like that Dayton
and remember they came back from like 20 against Nevada in the first round.
And they didn't just come back from 20. As soon as they tightened up the defense and went full court, like you knew that game was over and they were down 20. And I was like, I bet on it as soon as I could. I'm like, this game is over. Nevada wants no part of this. And then they start making threes plus with that defense. But I'm saying like that coach, that was a well-coached team.
I like DJ Altenberger at Iowa State too. He was another name that was
okay.
for Louisville.
I'm
and
just
all
curious
that.
because I just don't know these
He's
guys.
a coach that I could see if Kentucky does get rid of Cal and next year and all that, he continues his stuff at Iowa State. He could be the guy. Because Iowa State, I feel like you cap out at Iowa State. Like Yoda can go so far. Obviously, you go to Kentucky, you have endless resources and all. So that's
I grew up when in the time when coaches were the stars. Like Roy Williams was still at Kansas. Coach K was in his prime. Syracuse, John Thompson was still coaching. Like they were the stars of the tournament. And it's just a little different now. Hey, but I see some of these teams, and I'm like, man, they know how to play basketball. Like those two, like Oakland. Oakland did a good job, but that was that's not a sustainable type of basketball, which we found out. But like what Dayton did sustainable. Like you just get at it.
There's just certain ways to win when a team hits when they're above 50% of the team shooting threes. You're like, that's not sustainable unless you're the Golden State Warriors of basketball.
Especially when you get in those big domes.
It's hard to live and die by the three, especially
when you get to the dome in the Final Four, man.
And it's hard to live and die by one guy getting hot. Like if he stays hot, that's where the Jimmer Fredette's and Steph Curry's of the tournament happen, is when they stay hot. But I mean, for every Jimmer Fredette and Steph Curry, let's talk about the same guys that had that type of run potential, went crazy the first game, and we're like, oh my God, they could carry this team. And then the Duke went missing and got cold the second game. Like it's hard to have a guy who comes out fire hot and keep that run for the entire tournament. And so when you do this is special.
You saw NC State Clan Boy.
Can we segue in? Can we segue in talking about the big man? How the big man's back?
Oh, I thought we were going to say Shohei Ohtani did that shit, but okay, we'll close.
We're gonna finish. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about Ohtani.
That keeps growing legs. Every day there's a new thing. It's like, yo.
Yeah, hey, let's talk about the big man real quick because we about to.
I just want to Mo brought it up. How getting hot from the arc is not sustainable. I'm gonna talk about the big man, the skilled big man. Is coming back because here's what happened. Two things happened. And in about the middle of the season, you guys know this as well as I do, NBA and college basketball. I don't know when it started in college basketball, but NBA about 2 months ago, they're like, we're going to start letting these guys bang around a little bit. Like we're going to let them get physical. We're not going to call every ticky-tack.
That the NBA is soft, and then they get mad with it's too
physical. And then guess what? Guess what? As soon as it started getting more physical, the big man's like, all right, you're about to catch this hook shot. You're about to catch this chicken wing. I'm about to put my butt in your face. And all of a sudden, oh, wow, we got post play again. Like it wasn't that these guys couldn't do it. It's just they got called for everything. They called for every offensive foul. Now, we see it every night in the NBA, dunking through dudes. You know what I mean? Like putting the balls on their cheeks and that's cool. Go ahead, man. Have at it. Have fun. Now that they got a little more physical and they're a little banging around, now some big and college basketball's had some this Burns Jr. right from North Carolina State.
Burns,
this kid's carried him for what are we at 7-game run now through the ACC tournament.
They were not even in the thought of being in the tournament, and then they won the ACC. Yeah. They beat Duke, they beat Carolina, they beat Virginia, and the coach was going to get fired. The coach was going to get fired, and he had an incentive in his contract. If he won the ACC tournament, he gets an extension and all that, and everything just.
And 2 years ago,
16, right?
And so the big man, the offense is running through them. He's a great passer. He's finding the open guys. He's playing defense. He's getting rebounds. He's got great hands around the hoop, like the putbacks that he gets and all that. But 2 years ago, they probably would have got him in foul trouble in the first 10 minutes of the game. And dude would have been on the bench for 20 minutes. And the other team would have shot the lights out. And North Carolina State's done. But now it's like, you know what? Let's let them play a little bit. And I've seen that across the board. I've seen several of these big men with good post moves and passing and all that. So and I've been saying this, like everybody complain about the NBA basketball, no defense, blah, blah, blah. All they had to do was just let them play a little more physical, and it's fixed. If you look at the scoring in the NBA between the beginning of the season and now, the over-unders have went down 20 points. But the game's fine. The game looks – all they did was
the Knicks have gone through that. The Knicks have scored a lot less.
And the Knicks are taking advantage of the physical too. They're like, all right, okay, you're going to let us play. We're going to – and it's great. So, just shout out to basketball for, overcorrecting, doing what they need to do. But it's also letting us see, I think people are really getting to see some good post moves. Again, I grew up in a time everybody talks about Olajuwon because he's still the most skilled post player I ever saw as far as the toolbox. And now you're starting to see these guys that they've been practicing this since they were kids, but they just didn't do it. So I think the big man's coming back. I like it. Now you can have a complete team again. You know what I mean? Get a couple talented big guys down in there, and then get your outside guys. And it's been cool to see that this hadn't been just a 3-point contest this tournament. Like, it's been nitty gritty defense, not calling every foul. Like, I've seen so many ticky-tack fouls that weren't called yesterday, and it made me so happy. Just let the game go. You know what I mean? Like, let people enjoy. It's still, if not, at the end of the day, it's a spectator sport. Quit. Like, you don't have to call everything. And guess what? The players don't complain. Like, they've stopped complaining about it. Like, when they're going for a ball swipe, they're still getting a hand as much, but everybody knows, like, it's fine. The players stop complaining, so they're not running down the court crying and carrying. Except for Caitlin Clark, she got a little out of pocket yesterday, but she did. And by the way, that elbow was.
Even her dad said, "Shut the hell up," though.
Yeah, but dude, that woman tried to knock her out with that elbow.
But Caitlin Clark, like, the thing is, though, that's not her dad. Her dad, like, reacted. Stop bitching, because y'all are up 25, almost 30 points, and you still crying to the refs. Like, especially as a dad, I'd be like, girl, you finna be on the bench. Like, you about to go on to the next round. Like, what you still crying for? Y'all, this game isn't competitive no more. Let them refs live. Like, now you're annoying. What if you're annoying and that's the same ref in the next game? Like, they remember that stuff. Like, refs have vendetta. Shut up. Y'all up 30.
She goes after them. She goes after the refs. She got to stop doing that.
Superstar privilege.
You know what?
Privilege, and it exists everywhere. The thing is, people are trying to make it like it's a Caitlin Clark thing. Superstar privilege. It's not a black and white thing either. Not to me, not in sports. It's superstar privilege. LeBron can talk to the refs a lot different than a lot of people. It takes a lot.
Oh my God!
It takes a lot more to get a tag.
Luka, Jason Tatum are the worst.
Or your Jokic or LeBron. It's superstar privilege, and so Caitlin Clark is taking advantage of it, and people are, oh, well, it's the white man. It ain't got nothing to do with her being.
No. It's superstar.
I would say, I would call it out.
She's the superstar in women's college basketball. People are paying to see, and you know what they're not paying to see? She's a brat. She has this bad attitude towards the refs, but I didn't pay to see her get ejected. I didn't pay her to get a bunch of technical fouls and ruin the trajectory of what Iowa can do. We need this girl in the Final Four. We need this girl in the national championship. And I'm not saying they're not rigging the games, but the refs will let a little more from Caitlin Clark come, because the sport needs this girl on the basketball court. And we can't take chances. We got to let her go a little bit farther, because we can't take chances of having to suspend her for the first half.
Oh, yeah.
Chance of out because of her and the refs.
You're right. She's taking advantage of the fact that she knows that. But I tell you, when she ain't going to do it, if she gets to Don Staley's team, you ain't going to do it against South Carolina.
If you do that, they don't win, because now you got to keep the main thing, the main thing. And if you letting the refs get you out of rattle, man, South Carolina, Don Staley gonna know how to take advantage of that. She paying too much. Absolutely. He's out the game now. Now we're going to
talk about one of the best coaches in the country. Let's talk about Don Staley. That's a basketball coach.
She's one. Yeah, she might be the best coach in the country right now, men or women. Men or women. She's top 3 coach in college sports right now. Yeah, I say that. And I bring
it's crazy, because I still I'm so old. I'm so old. I watched her play. That's how old I am.
Yeah, I remember her when I was a kid. Like, I know who she is. I know she's way more than South Carolina's basketball coach. Like, I know she's a hooper, and everybody act like she's some random lady that walk into a pool of talent and is able to coach as if she wasn't one of. She's a Hall of Famer. Like, as if
that's what I'm trying to think. I don't even know what the equivalent would be.
Like, I don't know, but she's one of those, and everybody act like all she is South Carolina's coach in a pool. I'm like, yo, this girl was. Like, do y'all know this woman was, when she was a young girl, she was one of those ones.
She was a dog.
Like, she was.
She's what everyone thought Juwan Howard would be at Michigan.
That's a good comparison.
There you go.
Comparison.
Former player, got a lot of clout, really good, but she's a better women's basketball player than Juwan Howard was men. Say that.
I tell you something real quick before we move on to Asian privilege instead of white privilege. Another something I saw last night, an observation I saw last night, because the Boston was playing Chicago. So I'm like, I'm gonna tune it in, watch what Boston a little bit. So last night, and if he decides to turn this on in the playoffs, it's a wrap. Jason Tatum decided to be that dude and not from the arc. He was bringing the ball down, and he's like, I'm gonna go to the hoop a couple times on these guys. It looked like something out of Jurassic Park, like when the T-Rex is running through the like he took 2 steps and was at the bucket with an easy layup. Nobody on earth could have stopped it. I'm like, if that Jason Tatum that I've been begging for
Doing
5 years
Jeff.
shows
Doing
up,
it all year.
it's a wrap. They were like, they needed a bucket. Like, I don't know, Chicago maybe made 2 in a row. Let's say they got within 5 or 6 in the first half or whatever. Tatum's like, all right, 2 steps, and he's like, nobody could stop him. Like, it looked like the Flash. And I went, that's the Tatum. Like, if that's what we get in crunch time, then that's the Boston team. Man, I just want to point that out.
He's been doing that all year.
Yeah.
Been doing it all year. So
when you see it, you're like, my goodness. When he does that, he looks like the best player in the world. He looks like the best player in the world when he does that.
Just got to do it in the playoffs. So, Jeff, like you were talking about, we're going to talk baseball. We don't want to talk a lot of baseball here. But
we're not talking baseball. We're talking.
We're not really talking about baseball, essentially. We're not going to talk about the Yankees. We're going to talk about the Rays. We're not going to talk about
we don't talk about. I want to talk about that opening. First of all, the Korea series was really cool. Glad Major League Baseball did that.
Yeah,
I enjoyed. That was neat to have at 6:30 in the morning with a couple good teams. That's good stuff. I like.
There was a lot of star. If you think about it, like between those 2 teams, being able to do that too, it was worth like baseball fans.
Thank you, Lawrence. By the way, we appreciate it.
It was worth baseball fans waking up and watching because the star power. Like the NBA could do that if like in the preseason or something. They could do that if you knew like the stars were going to play.
Yeah.
And you did like, we'll do like a Lakers versus Warriors. We got LeBron versus Steph at 6:30 in the morning. Like that's essentially what they did by having the Dodgers play is like, we got like 6 premier players on 2 different rosters playing this game. It's going to be worth watching. And baseball players will play in preseason. Like they'll play a whole game. Maybe not the pitcher.
No, it's not preseason. Those games count.
Oh, they count?
Yeah,
those games count.
The regular season
baseball
starts this week, but
yes, those games count.
Just
those 2 games.
Yeah.
Just then Thursday night.
They've usually done that before, where they'll have like a series that starts the week before.
You know,
Thursday night. I know. I didn't know either. I just because I was betting on it, I saw that it wasn't.
I thought it was.
Speaking of betting, there was some betting stuff that happened, and not about the parlays for the Korean series. It was a Shohei Ohtani's interpreter got in some hot water. So apparently, there was. And I'll give you a little bit of rundown because
I haven't even heard the whole story thoroughly.
So there was rumblings last Sunday in the Korea series. There was some rumblings that something had happened to Shohei Ohtani. That was the initial thing. Obviously, it was nothing, health-wise or whatever. So they found out that wasn't that. Then they found out that it appeared that Ohtani's name appeared to be on 2 wire transfers totaling $1 million. The transfer had been sent in September and October to a South Carolina bookie, and those bookies are illegal bookies. I don't think California you can bet. I think it's still illegal if I'm correct. Then they find out Monday, ESPN contacts Ohtani's agent, Nez Baleo. He lacks information about all that. Ohtani's name appeared on the wire transfers. Then they find out the next couple of days, next couple of hours, more information about that. And then they find out that it was he was trying to cover, his interpreter, Mizuhara. I can't say it. Maybe I butchered the name, but it's like $500 increments. He was paying it off and all that. In total, it was about $4.5 million in bets and all that. Then that's when the Dodgers, when we find out, they fire him because he was still with them. They fire him. They find out they fired him as they found out about this, and because Shohei had found out during a press interview, and then he didn't take any calls and all that. So this has been something, and it keeps growing legs. There's still more stuff coming about that and all that. So what do we think? Is this an issue that is bigger than we should make it, or is this potentially could be one of the biggest stories since Pete Rose bet on his own team?
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, it doesn't, like, we're talking about these guys.
Because we really don't know, because simply because the language barrier, we don't know if this is Shohei betting. We thinking that it might, and that's kind of where you're good with the privilege stuff and
that's
all
what
that.
I'm saying. Well,
where you're going.
And what I was saying about the Asian
assuming
it's really the language barrier, because and being all honest, when you have to give your excuse or your reason, whichever it is, through an interpreter, we don't get the man, I don't want to use this. That's a bad example. Can't use that one. I got to get past that.
You don't get the answer.
That's what I'm saying.
Real answer. You're going to translate it. And I bet your translator is PR trained. So like,
okay, I'm going to use this example.
And they're not going to.
I'm going to use this example. I won't belabor, but this is an example. Do y'all remember when Kobe had to apologize for what happened in Colorado?
Yeah.
To his wife, basically. You remember, like, when you watch that and listen to it, you could make up your own mind of like how real or disingenuous it was, whatever you thought. You can't do that through an interpreter is what I'm saying. So like Ohtani can be saying like straight face, like I'm not like, now someone from Japan might pick up on like, man, he's lying, like we don't know that. And then all we do is hear the translation. So it's almost like it's typed down. So then you're like, oh, it seems reasonable. But baseball's got a problem. Like they pin the future of baseball on this dude, and that's fine. One of the most amazing talents we've ever seen in any sport. But when you got gambling tied into this, like it's sticky.
But is this, so I say with the Ohtani thing, my thing is this. I think all the other sports are shaking in their boots because this is Shohei Ohtani. Like this is the Major League Baseball. This is one of the 5 major sports in the world.
Yeah.
They're superstar players. They're LeBron James of their sport.
One of the most famous athletes on the planet.
Exactly. Right now is literally in hot water, trying to figure out a way to get out of it. Whether he did it or not is, we can talk about that all day. But what if, like, if Ohtani's doing it, you know, we've already seen in the NFL, multiple guys get suspended for betting on games. Like, I'm going to be honest.
Well, here's what's different.
The way these major league sports have embraced gambling is a dangerous road. It's a very
here's what's different.
They've embraced
here's what's the biggest difference in the two is, real quick, because this is what was sticking in my crawl all week, is that they're blaming gambling. Let me tell you something. Sports gambling's been around for over 100 years. The Black Sox scandal was before like 1913 or whatever it was. Like it's been 100 years people have been sports gambling. The legal stuff that the guys are getting in trouble for on their teams, it's against the rules, but it's not illegal. You know what I mean? Like they're getting in trouble because they're not allowed by their team to do it. There's nothing legal.
Team and league rules, but you're not law. You're not
illegal gambling from California to a bookie is illegal. Like that's across state lines. That's federal shit.
Yeah, like and they said the FBI is investigating it, but I think they swooped this under the rug. At the end of the day, there's too many hundreds of millions pumped into this one dude for Major League Baseball to really let him take a full fall. Does he maybe get suspended possibly for like 10 games or something, and they give him the bare minimum? Sure. But there's too many, we talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that one franchise is pumped into this one player, that a premier franchise, one of the most expensive franchises in sports period in the world, has pumped into this one player, which is the brand of Major League Baseball is riding on Shohei Ohtani. Like he's not going to face, I doubt, unless it got so bad, he's not going to face no max penalty. Like it'll be very slight and you can play.
We also talk about, like, I'll just say the word. Can we also talk about how dumb it is that you're wire transferring money to a bookie in South Carolina? You're one of the most famous people on the planet. And you're just like, yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
$4 million too. Like
$4 million. Like you could call the dude and be like, I'm Shohei Ohtani. I'm good for it. We're going to figure this out. Like, you know what I mean? Like just a wire. It almost makes
it's illegal in California too.
Yeah. You can't do that. You can't. What he did was illegal. Though. That is part of the story.
Yeah, you can't.
I think that's what it is, because it's illegal
law. It was
law.
Lawfully. If it was against rules, you broke the baseball law.
A baseball
You're being investigated by the feds right now. Like you broke a real law. You're being investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Not
another thing is too, you got all these reporters that like, this is the story that I'm going to get famous on. Like I'm making a movie about this, and they are digging. There are so many people snooping around South Carolina right now looking for.
And guess what? We're in a world of documentaries. And I want everybody to realize we love these documentaries. We love all these wild things of documentaries coming out because we're attached to these times. You know, like the Nickelodeon documentary, a Cold War documentary just dropped that my homeboy had me watch. That like I'm into war stuff, so. Everything gets a documentary for all these scandals and situations and stuff. You don't think there's a whole bunch of directors sending reporters to be like, yo, we could have $1 billion documentary if we uncover information. They're not.
Yep.
The entertainment industry is not going to push this to the side. They're not going to stay quiet about it. As much as baseball wants to, it's going to cost baseball hundreds of millions of dollars that they didn't invest in to show Ohtani to keep everybody quiet, to push this to the side. This is going to cost baseball a lot of money. Watch tickets go up because of this, because they got to recoup the money that they're going to have to pay to cover this up. Because
15 years ago here in Ohio, they found out that some players traded memorabilia and shit they won for tattoos. Like that happened. The reporters would not stop digging on that and scratching and clawing and writing stories and asking questions, investigating it until they got Jim Tressel fired. This is a player trading a jersey for a tattoo. We talking about the most famous player in baseball sending $4.5 million to a bookie, and everybody thinks it's going to go away. This is a big problem. And here's what I want to say about the gambling part of it, though, because this really drives me nuts. I see it all over, online and everywhere. They're like, man, what'd you think was going to happen when FanDuel was sponsoring the game and DraftKings? I'm like, listen. You don't get into debt unless you borrow money from somebody. You got to have the money to legal sports bet. I'm tired of hearing you can spend all your money, and if you borrow it from a friend, that's on your friend. But you can't bet money you don't have in legal gambling. So I want to the legal sports gambling is not what we're talking about.
Yeah, because in legal sports betting, you deposit $40 and that's all you lose. You're not
you would have to put
$40,000. Where illegal booking, like in the old movies you see in so everybody needs $10,000 and like, oh man, I just lost $10,000. I don't. It's gone. I don't even have it. It's gone.
But you don't owe anybody. There's no bookies or whatever. And I'm not even saying that you can't have a problem with it. That's a whole different conversation. Like if you can't handle it or whatever, then that's a problem. But I'm saying Jeff at home betting $5 or
going to the laundromat and going to the back room and
on Oakland to win ain't what we talking about.
Like
we're
talking about
a guy. We're talking about a guy calling somebody. And I tell you what, if they find out that dude called and said, "I got Anaheim minus 1.5," Ohtani is done. I promise. Because guess who else is invested in this? Just like I did, as mad as I get. You tell me FanDuel ain't gonna stand up for themselves. DraftKings, this is an advertisement for them. They're gonna come out and be like, "See, legalize it. You use our site. You don't have to go to a bookie in South Carolina."
Yeah, Jeff.
You think they ain't invested? Look, we've seen it happen with marijuana for the last 20 years. As far as legalize it, and then we'll be done with all this bullshit. You think DraftKings ain't going to stand up for themselves and be like, no. Ohtani should have used us, and we wouldn't be having these problems.
Yeah, Jeff, you make a really good point. You make a really good point.
Okay, so I want to go down now. This is called the rabbit hole. The Ohtani, I found myself.
Let's do it.
I found myself here. So I think it's corny that people do this, but I am the person that sits at home behind my screen and am entertained by the corny information that everybody else will sit there and have the time to sit on their couch and gather. They gathered Ohtani, gambling on games, what they think could be thrown games. They looked at Ohtani's stats in those games. They looked at where bets were placed. There was a $1.5 million bet on the over between, it was the Dodgers, or not the Dodgers, the Angels and whoever they played last year in December. Not December, but before the playoffs. People found it in December. There was a bet placed in Korea where he's Korean, right? I don't want to be right. I don't want to come off.
No, he's Japanese.
Oh, Japanese,
I think.
But no, there was a bet placed in Japan where Ohtani is from for $1.5 million on the over. Ohtani was on a streak of allowing 5 hits or less in every game for his past 10 games. And then Ohtani allows 8 hits. There were 5 earned runs. It was his worst game he ever had. It could be coincidence, but $1.5 million were placed in the same town that Ohtani is born, where he was born. So that to me, either Ohtani placed that bet or he placed it through somebody and through the game. There's a possibility that people are going to investigate some of these bets placed and when Ohtani played and maybe he's throwing the game, which looks at, I think if Ohtani doing it, we've already seen guys in the NFL gambling on their own teams. We've seen Calvin Ridley be suspended for it for a whole year. So Ohtani ain't the only one. And then don't make me Y'all know I love this dude to death. All I'ma say is, don't be surprised if LeBron gambling on games. I'm not saying he's throwing games, but he got a partnership with DraftKings.
Yep.
Active players, I'm sorry. I do not believe for the integrity of sports, any active player should have any type of ties through any gambling company. I'm sorry.
I agree.
LeBron James should not be allowed while being an active player to have a partnership with DraftKings. The only reason I say that, we see gambling is taking over sports, which is fine. We see all these sports networks partnering up with all these gambling. ESPN now has their own gambling thing. They're like, why partner with DraftKings? Well, we could just do it ourselves. Yep. I get it, but you're going to ruin the integrity of sports because if Ohtani is doing it, he's not the only player that's doing it. There's a million guys making hundreds of $1 million less than him doing it. On top of the fact you're seeing all these star players have partnerships with gambling companies while being active players.
But also, though,
different.
I agree with what you're saying, but also my point is it's always been legal. It just hasn't been legal in as many states. Like you could always bet on sports forever. So what I'm saying is like that the stuff that the players aren't allowed to do or the bookie stuff hasn't went away. It's always been there. That's what I'm saying. No, I do separately. I do.
They're not allowed to bet on their sport, right? At all. Like
I think some of them aren't even. Oh yeah, you can't bet on your sport.
You can't bet on your sport. And you can't place bets in the building. Like you can't be at the practice facility. You got to be like at home. But like a baseball player could bet on.
That's what really got in trouble, right? He bet in the building, right?
Well,
the guy from Detroit, I think, did too.
Well, yeah, the dude. No,
one of those guys, right?
The dude from Detroit, Jameson Williams bet while in the practice facility. Calvin Ridley bet on the Jaguars while he was hurt and didn't play. He bet on that Jacksonville Atlanta game when he didn't play.
But when he was on the Falcons, right?
But also
he was with the Falcons, he bet on the Jaguars or he bet on the Falcons to win or whatever. And they were the underdog of his team.
Forever though, you could bet like these players could bet on themselves or against themselves, anytime they want. Like if you the sports gambling has always been there. Sports gambling has always been there.
If betting against yourself is legal, you can't tell me nobody throwing games. If I put $1 million for me to not 27 points.
That's what I'm saying. I totally agree with you that there shouldn't be the affiliation. I think it's just one of those things like it's you know what? It's no different than me. It's weed is like basically legal now in Ohio, but I'm not allowed. You see what I'm saying? Like it's the same with sports betting. Sports betting can be legal, but if you play for the Columbus Blue Jackets, you can't sports bet. Like if you just sign off on that, like I don't know what to tell you, quit.
I'm cool with players betting.
But I'm with you as far as the association.
I don't even think you should be able to bet on your sport because everybody got friends. So if you're an NBA player and you bet on NFL and MLB, and I get it, in sports in general, everybody got friends. You got basketball players who hang out with baseball players and vice versa. You could call your homeboy, hey, how you feeling today? Man, my body hurt. All right, you're not getting 2 total bases today. I'm going to take a under. Yes, but look.
I agree with you.
There's no difference than like if Shohei Ohtani was my best friend, and I called him, I'm just regular old Mo doing a regular old podcast, sitting at my regular old crib, but me and Shohei Ohtani were best friends. I call him, hey, bro, how you feeling today? I know you about to pitch. Right. Man, my shoulder a little tight. I don't know. All right, I'm taking your under on strikeouts. Don't even worry about it. I don't have to tell him, but thinking that, I don't find a problem in that. You can't get around that. But no players should have affiliations with gambling, anything, while you're active, and you can't bet on your sport, period. Because I think you can I think you can bet against. I don't fully know the gambling rules when it comes to the players, but I think
they're different. Every sport's different.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about the rules, but my thing is this: if you play in the NFL, you cannot place a single NFL bet. If you want to bet on the NBA, you want to bet on baseball, you want to bet on tennis, you want to bet on Korean baseball in the middle of the night, I'm all good with that. You just cannot bet on your sport because we're already battling the integrity of our sports now with gambling being bigger, refereeing getting worse. Like we're already battling with integrity problems with our sport anyway. So if you're not allowed to, in the minute we find out I just don't understand why these players, bro, give it to somebody else.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I said. It's when Ohtani, it should
be easy, right? I don't know.
If Ohtani did exactly what he said, everything he's saying is true. That's still a dumb thing to do, is what I'm saying. Like you can't, and if it's worse,
$4 million to pay off also from your bank account.
What started all this is he does get the pass. Like there's certain players that if we heard this exact same story, we would be like, I knew it. So don't again. It's always the NBA. Don't let this happen in the NBA.
Oh my
God. They would want to like imagine this was I don't what's an athlete that we don't like, but
Kevin Durant.
What's a star? Yeah, Kevin Durant. Let this be Kevin Durant. And see this story. Like I knew it. I knew he was cheating this whole time. That's why I did this, and that's why I did that. Like it would go crazy. So it's really weird that it happened to somebody that honestly, like we can't speak with. Like I can't, like Americans can't, or English only speaking people cannot.
It's a tough L for
Otani. I swear in Japan, they're probably like they're hearing it, they're seeing it. They might be over there like, man,
they have more morals than we do.
I don't know how you say he's. I don't know how you say he's full of shit in Japan, but I bet that some of them saying it. But and
it's
again,
crazy.
I hope, but
crazy.
also like it's just a dangerous road to go down to owe somebody that much money. Like,
bro,
that's just dangerous.
$4 million. That's
because he can blackmail you because you know that guy's like, well, it's going to be $5 million, or I'm telling the Wall Street
baseball, telling Matt where I'm
at. Like, just don't mess around with the illegal gambling, man. Like it ain't.
And as if baseball already has a huge marketing issue with how they market their play. The game is, even though they've made some rules,
and he went to a team that people don't like. People don't like the Dodgers right now.
They've made changes to the rules and all that to try to get the younger fan and all that. They just came off the worst watched World Series in forever. Like they're baseball's in a tough position, and they still like, all right, Tony's going to play for the Dodgers. He's going to be on a good team. We're going to get him in the playoffs. Boom, and then
now you might not see until 25.
Now it's like, oh, guess what we're going to do, guys? We're going to have a huge thing going on with your best player.
They're lucky March Madness is going on. That's what I would tell Major League Baseball.
But they're lucky. They're lucky March Madness and basketball is going on. Football, the draft's happening. So they're lucky there's some distractions, because if this was just baseball at its peak and this happened, it'd be worse.
Chris,
but this is bad.
They're lucky right now that a future number one pick, a black quarterback, is painting his nails, and the NCAA tournament is happening right now. And JJ McCarthy is getting.
Hey,
that's what it is. A black painting his nails. And a white quarterback is being named as elite, and the NCAA tournament is happening all while Otani is doing illegal stuff. Oh. You got lucky, because there are more things for either people to be outraged about or to be entertained with than having to think about Otani gambling right now. That's what it is. Think about the three hottest subjects right now in the sports world. Caleb Williams going number one in his painted nails, JJ McCarthy being the prototypical white quarterback that gets drafted top 5 in the NCAA.
Daniel Jones. He's Daniel Jones. You know that, right?
Literally even Daniel Jones.
No. I'm saying his pre-draft is Daniel Jones.
Oh, no, I think he
skyrockets.
It's Zach Wilson. Now, it's Zach Wilson, and he did a back foot 65-yard throw, and I literally tweeted out Zach Wilson Jr. Like, this is what's going on. But those are the three hottest topics in sports right now. Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy, and the NCAA.
How Caleb Williams walks, how he interacts with
paints his nails, how he talks to this, how Chicago Bears you got freaking Jalen Johnson. I'm sorry, no disrespect to Jalen Johnson. He's a good cornerback. But listen here, Darius Miles Jr., you got a possible superstar coming to your thing, and you're talking about he got to prove his worth. He got to get in where that Hollywood stuff don't fit. Okay, Darius Miles, you got a little bit of your money. You're a good NFL player, but you got a future.
Oh, when Darius Miles did that to LeBron James when they were on the Cavs.
He did it. No. Bro, look, maybe Caleb Williams is a bust. I don't know. But leading up to, you have a projected.
You would think he was already. You would think he was a 10-year player in the NFL. But the way
you sitting here talking about, I understand as a vet, rookies got to prove their worth. I get it. We don't care how good you are. But listen, Jalen Johnson, brother, you are about as productive as Darius Miles was, which means you are a good pro that's going to get some good money. But, brother, you play on a bad team. Your team been bad for years. If this superstar quarterback is supposed to save your franchise, I think you should just shut up and let Hollywood save your franchise. Like, I'm not understanding the Caleb Williams hate. And I know it comes from they love Justin Fields. I get it. But even still, like, that's where we're at right now. Is it's Caleb Williams, it's J.J. McCarthy, and it's the NCAA.
True.
That is what's on your timeline as far as sports right now. Yeah. And then Otani was able to sneak Woj bomb his way in there and then be able to back out because guess what? While all the talk was going on, it was probably halftime of like a Tennessee tournament game. And now all of a sudden the game resumes. We're back into it. It goes into double overtime and nobody cares that Shohei Ohtani is gambling right now.
And also, I mean, people like us that really care about like the stories and do this, like they just don't care that much about the baseball stories. Like,
and there's also not an hour. Ohtani didn't give you an hour and a half of content. He gave you 15 minutes.
Yeah. Jeff, do you think that baseball
hour?
Why aren't people complaining more about this? Are we really that bad? Baseball is really in the shitter.
No, I think baseball. I think baseball.
Like, why aren't people talking about this?
They gave this dude. They gave more people cared about Jalen's contract last year with the Celtics than they care about this. Like more people were upset about him getting the Supermax.
Baseball low-key is like, damn man, I thought we just would get more traction.
I do too.
They're like, damn, we really in the
we got a problem that nobody cares about. They have a mass baseball player in the world.
Yeah, they baseball has an issue that's bigger than the
rule. It was Caleb Williams. The world would care. If Caleb Williams was gambling last year on
US, we cared more about Zion Williams banging strippers and all that, porn stars. We cared more about Zion's weight and strippers he was banging than Shohei Ohtani's big
exactly
thing.
Stuff that don't matter. No, Mo is right. If we find out tomorrow that Caleb Williams bet $10 on a USC game last year, it would set the world on fire. And Ohtani, we're like, what? We're like,
you think
whatever.
A cheating scandal like the Astros? Because I feel like the Astros was big for a little bit and then like kind of died down a lot. Do you think if that happens in football or in basketball?
So I don't want to talk about cheating
scandal like that.
Patriots.
No.
Here's
what I will tell you about cheating scandals.
People still talk. We have documentaries about it.
We ain't talking about the Patriots. We're talking about the national champions that just are in a cheating scandal. Nobody cares. It matters who you are. If Ohio State cheats,
who you are.
Better damn right they care.
It matters who it is.
And you know what? Here's the thing. Hockey's the ultimate one. This happened in hockey. They'd be like, this is just good old boys. Just good old boys doing their thing.
They just fight it out. We'll fight it out.
Yeah, we don't care. Ain't nobody cares about hockey stories. Them dudes do whatever they want.
Somewhere Ken is Arthur, the Arthur meme.
Yeah, ain't nobody cares.
That's Ken.
Hockey does whatever they want out here, giving each other CTE on purpose.
Gretzky could go have a kidnapping spree.
They'd be like, "That's fine. He's the great one." They'd be like,
"He's the greatest kidnapper of all time."
Classic Gretzky. Classic Gretzky.
Like it's really kidnapping son of a gun, man.
I bet baseball is like having like. God, we got Ohtani out here doing illegal stuff and like the world doesn't care.
Nobody cares.
Like that's the money thing. Like you're sitting here like, man, we got to evaluate our sport. Like if the biggest star, like I'll tell you like this, if it was Messi and we found out he was gambling and he's playing for the MLS, we play for the MLS. But if it was Lionel Messi, everybody would care. Like I hate to say it, and I know like I'm not saying baseball more relevant to soccer, man. Like Ohtani's the biggest star, and we really don't care.
Nobody cares,
man.
They really overall, it's not a story no more. Until so much comes out that you have to talk about it, it's not going to be a story anymore. Like ESPN's not going to wake up. Stephen A. not going to wake up and talk about it on Monday, unless between now and tomorrow morning more comes out with the Ohtani stuff that they can actually talk about. It's not even worth putting on your screen no more. We covered it for 20 minutes. We good.
Baseball's like, yo, we need a new scandal. With the Astros thing is gone and is done and gone.
Bro,
we need a new scandal.
Just as I'm perusing through the sports trending topics right now, Kawhi, Zach Wilson, Deion Sanders, all trending higher. Louisville, they know Ohtani.
Well, hold on.
Bull is trending.
Bull
ain't no Ohtani
player.
Can we real quick before we close out? Can we I got to speak on that. You know, we can close out. I can close out this way for what really irks me. I'm gonna take.
What's on your mind? All right, we'll go through. What's on your mind?
Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders. Pissed me off so bad. I'm gonna be honest. Did y'all hear what he said? And he said. To sit down. All right, so he was on the podcast, $1 million worth of game with Wallow and Gilly. And he talked about, they asked him about Shador and Travis Hunter.
Oh,
He thinks both of them are going to be top 5 picks. Fine. I ain't mad at you. Believe in your son, believe your player. And if they are, I'm not mad at you. I ain't hating on none of that. But then he followed it up to say, they're both going to go top 5, but there's a few cities they won't play for. This is the Eli Manning situation. I will not let Shador, Shiloh, or Travis Hunter go.
Shiloh.
But listen. He said, I won't let Shador or Travis Hunter go to certain teams. And then he throws in, he's like, oh, and Shiloh too, because he knows, that's not my first round pick.
You can't do an Eli Manning in the 5th round.
But I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. I don't think Deion got the juice to tell NFL teams not to draft my son or Travis Hunter and thinks it's going to work. Because I'm tired of everybody thinking that Eli Manning set some freaking blueprint for how not to go to a team that you want to go to. You want me to tell you why? Everybody, Caleb Williams. Oh, he should pull a Eli Manning and not go to the Bears. Do you know why? Do people forget why Eli Manning was able to do what he was able to do? Because there's such thing as what we look at. Like, I'll say this, for example, not to make anybody uncomfortable, but let's say black people, right? They can't do what Jay-Z and Beyonce can do. Just understand that. Eli Manning, the Mannings were the royal family. It would be like the queen in England saying, I'm not doing this. They were the royal family. The father played pro quarterback in the NFL. Peyton Manning, the older brother, was on track to be is on pace currently at the time. He's one of the greatest of all time. And then you got Eli Manning, who was damn good at Ole Miss, and we knew he was a Manning. You get away with that because of your last name and you being a royal family. I don't know why everybody want to act like Caleb Williams can get away with that. I don't know why Deion want to insert himself like they are the royal family and can do what the Mannings can do. You can't. Shador's not Payne or Eli coming out. Travis Hunter is an elite athlete, but his last name is Hunter, not Sanders. That's not your son, so you can't control him the way you want to. This whole, my son ain't going here, my son ain't going there. Just for that, I hope Shador, I hope they play bad. I'm sorry. I'm done with Colorado already, and I loved Colorado last year, but I hope they suck because Deion went from Jackson State to Colorado. He think he got some juice that he don't. And then for you to be pitching and scaring off, that is the worst thing to do as a father, in my opinion, is scare off any type of team that is interested in drafting your kid in the first round because you don't want them to go to their city. And then you're going to say, I'm being a great parent by doing that. No, you're not. Because let's say the 5 worst teams next year, we don't even know who's going to be the top 5 picks next year. We could take a guess all we want. We could say the Panthers, the Falcons, and 3 other teams. But let's say you don't want him to go to none of those cities. All 5 of those teams want to draft your son, but you're saying you won't go there if you get drafted. Now your son's not a top 5 pick because you decided to open your mouth in March, a year before your son's about to get evaluated and go to the draft. You decided to, and now they're not even going to look. His pro day could be dead. Deion doing the wrong thing. I'm sorry. It irks me that he's pitching that my sons will either play here, play there. You can't do that. You cannot control it.
He made it about him. That's a good point.
He made it about himself.
Yeah.
He made it about himself.
And you know what really rich, really rich white people like when somebody says my black son's going to be a problem out the gate. Like that really gets their juice.
That chaps their ass.
You want me to be honest? So you know what gets rich whites going, and when they think that when they pull certain moves, and then the elite blacks come. And I say, because Deion is an elite black. Let's be honest. He is a star of stars. He's charismatic. He puts butts in seats like But guess what? They're laughing because they're like, all that, and he thinks he got a seat at this table to make those calls. They feel that way. Let's just be honest.
I totally agree.
He's sitting there laughing like Deion still thinks he has a seat at this table. Like he's like one of those, but he ain't there yet. I'm just saying.
He ain't ahead of the table.
Hey, Chris Rock pointed out 25 years ago. He's like, you think Shaq's rich? The dude that writes his check, that's rich. Like that's wealthy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not taking anything away from
he's
Deion's
trying
success.
the LeVar Ball route, but like LeVar never said, my son's not playing for here, my son's not playing for there.
And it really didn't
doing this.
It really didn't work. it really didn't work.
And it didn't impact. Like, if you want me to be honest, nothing LeVar Ball said impacted the fact of where his sons went. Because you want me
still went top 3.
They were gonna go, but they were gonna go. Lonzo and LaMelo were going to get drafted where they got drafted, regardless. They didn't need, and so I'm not mad. I was never mad at LeVar Ball for doing what he did, because I would have did the same thing as his dad. If my son that good, if my son Lonzo Ball and LaMelo good, man, I'm screaming from the mountaintops how good he is. He better than LeBron and Steph.
And since they've been in the league, you haven't heard a peep from LeVar Ball. What's the last time you've heard from LeVar Ball?
Why? You know why? Job done. Job
he
done.
did his job. Exactly.
People
were so worried about that. He's gonna sabotage him in the league. And guess what? LaMelo got a rookie extension. Lonzo got $100 million from the Bulls. Even though he's hurt, he still got $100 million from the Bulls.
My job.
Jello got a shot at the G League.
But I think once those shoes started failing, he was done, right?
Yeah, when Big Baller Brand, I feel like the Big Baller Brand was more of why he was so loud to promote the brand than it was his kids. He didn't need to promote them. We knew how good Lonzo was coming out of high school. We knew how good LaMelo was when Lonzo
told us LaMelo was the one too. He said, "Yo, he's gonna be 6'8", 6'9", because he got the genes. He's got my genes, and he got his mom's athleticism."
And as a parent, the only thing you can't control, LaMelo is everything his dad said he was outside of being healthy. You can't control injuries for your kid. But as far as when LaMelo's healthy, he is everything his dad said he would be. He ain't the best player in the league or nothing. Like, he might your parent jumps in and you're like, my son is
not better than Steph. He ain't better than Steph, like you said.
He's everything he said he would be when he came into the league. Like, even Lonzo started shaping into being what he said he would be when he was in the league until he got hurt.
But also
injuries.
To go back to Mo's point, which is a really good one. Also, another thing you're doing when your son's a quarterback, it's different too, because we just talked about Caleb Williams and the scrutiny on quarterbacks coming into the NFL. And why would you give him more reason to pick him apart? Or why would you give him more pressure? It's hard enough to get the NFL as a quarterback anyway.
And your son is a black quarterback.
Yeah. And here's the thing about the NFL. They try not to take risk on quarterback. They make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, but they very seldom are like, man, I'm just going to give, this kid a shot, because no, they're going to pick him apart at the combine. They're going to pick him apart. And great. Yeah. He don't look like a new kid on the block. So he ain't getting that J.J. McCarthy pass, that Daniel Jones pass. Like, he's not getting that. He's not going to be allowed to be a game manager. People ain't going to call him a game manager. He's got the pressure's going to have, especially at his size. He's not a real big guy.
Yeah. He's got to be a star by you too. He's got. So
now what you've done is said everybody pick this kid apart. Like, Jeff, on a bad team, like, they still ain't gonna be that good.
Like, Jeff, what's on your mind? I went on my rants. What's on your mind?
Well, mine was going to be the gambling thing. So I think I ran it a lot about people telling me that legal gambling's that's the cause of all this, and it ain't.
No, it's not.
I don't know what another thing on my list would be right now. It's been a pretty decent week. Basketball's been pretty good.
It's just the fact I sat down and actually watched Dion do and the thing is, the only reason I back Dion, like, I rock with what he's doing, but you can't, bro, do not talk your kids out of draft position. Even if you look at Travis Hunter,
right?
Your son, even if he's like your son, that I respect that. Taking over the father, I respect that. But don't talk your kids out of draft position, because it ain't even, the 2024 draft hasn't even happened. And you're preparing all GMs in the 2025 draft to say, look, 2 players that probably are first round talents. One, I think Travis Hunter could go top 5 just because of his versatility, but you already talking him out of position. You might talk him out of three out of the top 5 teams, taking them. Now, the 2 other teams that are in the top 5 don't need him. That's not their number one need. And now he doesn't go top 5 because you keep pitching. Because eventually he's going to be specific about what cities he don't want him to go. If you already throwing that out in March, you're going to be real loud in November and December when you start to see who's competing for the number one.
I'm curious too, though, like what Dion's got in it for himself. Cause he's always got a next step. Like, is he trying to like get to an NFL team? And then
I think he's trying to get I'm going to be honest. I think he's trying to get Shador, Shiloh, and Travis Hunter to Atlanta. And I think he's trying to coach in Atlanta. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I do too. I think there's some.
But I think it'll be like, okay, you're going to get Shiloh, Shador, and Travis Hunter somehow, some way. It's not going to work with Kirk Cousins next year. So you'll have this year and next year. That's 2 years. A coach we know could easily be fired after 2 years. And if we already got Shador and we got Travis Hunter and we have a former legend, a former Hall of Famer that played for this franchise that wants to be the head coach, let's be honest. I think Falcons fans would be all aboard. I don't know, and I don't want to speak for them, but I'm just saying Dion has always had his hand in what's in it for me. Come on, we do have to have that. We don't have to have that honest conversation. We just got to be honest.
Well, and we don't know
done anything that's not. He benefits from everything. Come on.
Back to our Coach Cal situation. We don't know that Deion Sanders is a good football coach yet.
No,
we haven't seen anything on the field that makes him a good football coach.
He's a leader of young men, and he can recruit because he's freaking Deion Sanders. And let's just be honest. Here's what I tell everybody. I tell everybody when it comes to Deion, Jeff, you watch Deion's entire career. If Deion came in your living room when your son was 17 years old and said, I want your son to play for my team, as a 40-year-old dad, you're going to have a hard time saying no,
right?
Or thinking that he shouldn't be high on your radar, because you're going to be like, son, look, this is one of the greatest players to ever play the game that's sitting in the living room wanting you, and I witnessed his entire career. That's who he's talking to right now.
One of the great personalities of all time.
He's talking to everybody your age.
Totally agree.
He's recruiting your kids now.
Yep.
And everybody your age understands who Deion Sanders was. People my age who was young, and we knew the older Deion and the legend after football, but we understand what he was during football. But he's not recruiting. He's talking to you guys. He's talking to the parents who got kids that age that y'all watched me. And so now I don't know if he could coach.
Well, he's got a lot of, and again, I want to be clear. Like, I'm not against Deion, how he's done it, because I still believe that he does care about the players probably a little more than most coaches.
He does.
Even though I do think I totally agree with everything. So that's the one thing that I'm still not anti Deion. I'm just simply saying, I don't know if he's a good football coach yet. And I don't know if a lot of guys are. A lot of guys, it takes a while to prove that, like, oh, you can't actually coach football just like you can. But I'll tell you what, something, this isn't a real stickler, but this time of year, since we started off talking about March Madness, something that does get under my skin a little bit, and we see it with the upsets and everything in the NCAA tournament. Let's stop acting like we turn on the TV and we see, Oakland play for the first time ever. Actually, I bet there's still a lot of people listening to this right now that don't realize Oakland ain't in California. It's in Michigan, just above Detroit. But let's not watch a team for 15 minutes and then decide that, when some kid that's been there for 6 years has a great game at any position, then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, that's how you do it right. These Kentucky kids are failures and all this, and they don't play the game right and all that. Like, no. You didn't watch the whole season. You don't know the future. Like, don't get caught up in some dude getting hot, some dude that looks like you getting hot from the 3-point line. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, that's how you play basketball. Like, stop doing that.
Yeah. Cause
and getting caught up.
Stuff,
like Mo said earlier, enjoy the game, and it can be cool, and you had fun watching it and all this stuff, but stop with this. Once they ran up against, a guy that actually played, no, they're all playing basketball the exact same way. It's just somebody got hot that night, somebody got cold that night. You know what I mean? Like, the kid in the middle for North Carolina State, as much as I love him, ain't an NBA player. That's fine. Don't act like, that's how you do it. Don't get caught up in it. There's no translation. Quit telling me quit getting caught up in what they look like in the storylines, and then telling me these other guys are failures or mistakes or all that. It ain't like that. There's a lot of good players for all these good teams, and sometimes you just have a bad night. So ain't nobody drafting this Gronk kid over Shepard from Kentucky.
Because Reed Shepard's going to be a 10-year pro who might be an all-star.
Let's calm down.
Who might average 16 a game and all that, and
just enjoy the game and move on. Let's not get caught up on
kid.
And plus you ain't like most of these people, and that's fine. Again, the tournament is a TV show. Don't get caught up in you didn't watch basketball for 6 months and now you know everything because you watched one game.
Oh no,
just enjoy the game. And be like, that was fun to watch, and move on, because none of us remember, all these upstart teams and these magic players. And that's great that they have their moment, but let's not confuse it with long-term success. So that kind of bothers me a little bit when I hear they do. Oh, he threw a pick. Man, not stop it.
we overanalyze college kids way too much.
Yeah,
We put
yeah.
a lot of
Just
pressure on
enjoy
these
the games.
kids.
Enjoy the games. I'm enjoying the
enjoy
Ohio
it.
State Duke game less because it's like tied
Yeah,
up right now.
Yeah,
in the
Duke
fourth.
got up.
You came back. There we go. And Blue Devils, baby. What's on my mind? I don't really have much, but just one thing in particular. Just there's a lot of bad basketball podcasters that are
Jesus.
I like this.
just
Do
on
it.
big platforms. And obviously I'm in the space, so I see it. I for instance, let's put Kev. I'm gonna pull him. Get a bucket with my co-host. He knows more college basketball than a lot of these kids that are big time networks.
Oh
And
yeah.
I look and I'm like, so not a single person has seen what this kid has done on my show or any show he's done and be like, man, we got to give that kid a shot. Nobody, but I've seen a lot of these big time networks have, and I'm like, you got that goofy on talking basketball.
Bro, Charles Barkley ain't watched a college basketball game all year.
That annoys me too when they put when they come to a March Madness and they just put Charles is just reading from a teleprompter or something.
They're like, what do you think they should do in the second half? It's like, oh, man,
he can't even tell you.
Gotta keep playing defense and get your shot, man. I'm like, what the?
Yeah, and it's just, and this is just the general thing. It's not specific to college basketball or anything, or it's just in general. This is just a lot of bad basketball podcasts, but they just know the right people. They went to the right school and they got the right internship. And I'm like, I don't know. So stuff like that just
but it makes bad fans too. Like it missed the out there.
And Jeff, that was my next point. It leads to bad. You read exactly what I say. It leads to bad conversations, which leads to bad takes and bad information being spread out. And this is why the basketball community is sometimes very toxic because we're getting a lot of bad information, a lot of bad. Now forget about the bad takes have been happening forever, but it's just bad information, and it just spreads out like a cancer, and just keeps going, and it keeps growing, and then we just have conversation. Well, people aren't really having those conversations. And obviously TV has made it, with First Take and Undisputed, with those are made it
what's crazy?
Even broader, but. It's just a lot of bad take shows. And it just bothers me because there's so much talented people in the NBA space, underground NBA space that should be getting the clout or whatever. Yeah, we have a lot of bad people, a lot of bad basketball minds out there that are on big platforms spreading out. And it's like not enough X's and O's and all that talk. It's
why though, Chris? You know why? Guess what makes money?
I know.
Being wrong makes money. Guess what?
True, though.
Everybody, even look at like these current active players or former players, right? They say a lot in their 1, 2, or 3 hours. But they say a lot. And now if we get down the Paul Pierce road, but even still, like a lot of these guys say a lot, but they focus on what they were wrong about. And that gets the 3.3 million views, 150,000 retweets, 500,000 likes. But then that guy said 30 minutes of a whole bunch of right stuff in that same conversation, and it gets 5 retweets, 7 likes. This dude is an idiot for being correct. But if you're wrong, and the more wrong you are, the more people are going to engage with you, because people don't ever want to tell you you're a genius, but people will be quick to tell you you're an idiot. And so therefore, if I'm a network, I don't get paid for geniuses. I get paid for idiots. And I'm not saying all the guys on ESPN are idiots and stuff, but think about, when does Stephen A go viral for when he's right? Because we're not going to act like a guy like him is never right. But you never hear, if you don't watch First Take for 2 hours, you're never going to agree with anything Stephen A says because you didn't watch First Take. It gets tiresome or whatever, but then you get on the internet and all you saw was what Stephen A said for 58 seconds of a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
But you saw the 58 seconds of him just saying one thing, he was completely wrong. And then guess what? Let's get on here. Stephen A is an idiot and I get 1 million clicks off of this. ESPN gets 1 million clicks off of this. So the thing is, like, the guys who do great, and I feel like we got a lot of them at the network, but the guys that do great, and there's going to be a breakthrough at some point. So everybody who's doing great, my only thing off of Chris' point, it would be continue to do what you do because there's going to be a breakthrough. The wave changes all the time. And eventually these networks and all this other stuff, these big time locked on and are going to want a bunch of people that be right more than wrong because eventually correct is going to sell and not wrong because people are going to be tired of being negative and try and get in a positive place. So,
well, and to Chris's point too, like even the one, like there is a lot of good information out there, but also like the one that gets me is like they get so much credit for saying stuff. Like two things I've heard this week, you know, that I personally have been saying for like you guys will vouch for me probably 3 or 4 years. I heard somebody go, well, I think we need to finally stop calling it a nickel defense and just that's the base defense. Like, yeah, no shit. It's been 4 years that we've been that everybody's been running.
It's been 4 years. You've been running 3 corners.
You've been running 3 quarterbacks for 4 years.
Slot, you get drafted being a slot corner now.
Yeah,
that was never a thing. You
could be a first round pick. You could be a first round pick being a slot
your
corner.
Third best corner.
Like,
your third best corner was a slot corner at one point, and he was a slot corner because he was your third best corner and couldn't cover one-on-one outside. Yeah. Now your slot corner might be a top 10 pick who's just the missing piece because we run a nickel defense and we be like, we got 2 strong corners, but if we put a third one and put him, he's a great slot corner. Yeah. He's worth a first round pick. So like we are now in a position where like, it's just like, but then like Chris said, I hear these guys, you know, say it for $1 million. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Like, thanks. I'm a dumber person now for listening. And then the other thing is still like the whole conversation this spring about the running back. I'm like, my goodness, when are people going to just, it's done. The running back position is what it is. It ain't,
they were acting like the running backs are getting like $100 million contracts.
This year they were like, oh,
3 for 21.
Yeah. I'm just like,
what's Saquon get 4 for?
But then I hear
Saquon, you're on the enemy. Saquon needs to stop complaining, stop crying. You're an Eagle now, bro. No. All right, one more rant.
Okay, one more rant. We gotta get out of here.
Saquon Barkley. All right. You know when people got on Tiki Barber saying you're dead to me?
Yeah,
you're dead to me. It's right. You play for the ops. You can't be like, oh no. And then when your daughter, listen, we don't bring kids into this. And when your daughter said, Daddy, we're not playing on the that got me mad. I was mad at her. I was like, how dare you? How dare you? You on the ops now. Don't be mad. Don't think you're going to get this big when you come back to MetLife and it's going to be all hunky. No, we're coming for your head. For your head, bro.
I will say, I don't know.
You're playing for the ops, bro. No, this is different. I don't think Saquon gets it. I don't think he gets the rivalry.
He didn't Win. If he won a Super Bowl or if he won a lot of playoff games with the Giants and then left to the Eagles, people would miss him. You want me to tell you why you want me to tell you why when he comes to New York, why they're gonna be on his head? Because you said all that and didn't win shit. You won a playoff game. You didn't win anything. And you act like players act like they're supposed to be missed with franchises when you didn't win anything. Yeah, bro, we loved you. You were a good player. You fall in love with players. But at the end of the day, to fans, guess what matters? What Jeff says all the time in college football, the loss column. And when you as a running back, as a starting running back, your record was 27 and 56. That was not the record. I'm just saying a high loss column.
It was probably worse.
Column.
It was probably worse.
You're not. People do not love you. People don't love you the way you think they do when you're not winning. People will forget about you and turn on you the minute you dip because you didn't win us nothing. We don't owe you no loyalty.
I unfollowed him on Instagram and everything.
Well, I mean, that's okay to feel like that. Like, because these athletes think that, yes, you play for our franchise. We do love you while you're here, but we value you based on what you did for us as fans. And if you want us a championship, think about it. Eli Manning can walk around New York head high. He's a legend everywhere. Nobody cares. The arguments that we have about him being a Hall of Famer. You want me
David Tyree.
Don't care about that. New Yorkers don't care about his 500 record as a starter. This dude won 2 Super Bowls.
That's all we care about. Nobody can bring us down with the interceptions and the 500 record or him being mid in the regular. Hey, he got us 2 chips. And every single fan would take that. If mid quarterback that got you 2 rings, you taking that. I don't care. Because
he won. And so Saquon Barkley went on this media run after because he thought people, bro, nobody.
Well,
nobody
and thing is about Barkley.
And you're
Just to
running back.
touch on it real quick, and we definitely got to get
Playing
out
for a
of
team
here.
that got a statue.
No,
playing for a
Barkley
team
is
that got a statue
also
of a fake.
Barkley is
fake
also
person.
like drumming up, like trying to be more famous than he is. But like we don't care about running backs. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Saquon.
That's another thing too.
Ain't nobody care. Christian
It didn't
McCaffrey's
work
the
in New
only
York.
one that
He wasn't as big as he thought. He wasn't as big as he thought.
It's like it's dead.
He's
It
a running
ain't
back.
happening, man. It ain't happening. Christian McCaffrey had an historic season. Nobody cares.
No.
Bro.
Yep. 100%.
We're going for your head, boy. We're going for your head. Your daughter too. No, I'm sorry.
Wow.
Just kidding.
All right.
Just
kidding. Just kidding. Just jokes.
Because she grew up.
People were mad with his daughter. People were mad at his daughter. She's like, what, 4? They were mad. They're like,
I love your daughter, Saquon. You seem like just
like,
be a good dad, man. Don't worry about the OG3. We apologize for everybody in New York City.
Philly, I can't stand that city that with the Rockies thing. But that's an OG3 in the books. That's Jeff. That's Bo. I'm Chris. Make sure to follow everybody follow us at the Off the Ball Network, OTB_network on X. Facebook, follow us. Appreciate everyone. We got over 100 people tuned into the show. Make sure to follow us on YouTube as we get close to 500 subs on YouTube. So offtheballnetwork.com. Go make sure to check out all the links we got. BetMGM, all that, Ice Shaker, all that. Check that out on offtheballnetwork.com. But on that note, be well, be safe, take care. Peace out.